thank you all for being here. And I think since it's the bewitching hour of 3 o'clock, we will start. We have kind of a long program. Covering 25 years was not easy, as you will see. And we have 2 narrators this afternoon, which is kind of a nice surprise. One of them has been a brother to Sing, Sing, Sing for years, because he is, in fact, my brother, Roy Harris. Roy Harris was one of the very early narrators that we had, and so he's kind of lived all these years with us when he lived in LA, and then now he's in Boston area, so he's here for this special event to share the honors with, of course, our wonderful Howard Lewis, who's been carrying on for ages with us. And then, of course, just the wonderful singers of Sing, Sing, Sing. This is the family of Sing, Sing singers. Ruth Davis on the far left, of course, Roy Harris, real Howard Lewis, Jackie Manfredi, Chuck Marceau, Tam Jackson, and David Ferraru. I also want to welcome our wonderful musicians, Chris Connor on bass, and our wonderful drummer, Dick Weller. So I just invite you to enjoy this incredible music. I just can't believe what wonderful music and lyrics this music has brought to us. It's just enriched all of our lives. I know that, or you wouldn't be here. So let's just all enjoy and sing out. It's healthy, it's good, and it sounds great. So Howard and Roy, I turn the program over to you.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome to a celebration of 25 years of presenting the Great American Songbook. Once there was a time when giants roamed the earth, but we don't have to go back to the Ice Age, the Bronze Age, or even fairy tales. But only 97 years ago, the period from the 1920s up until the 1960s represented the apex of American popular music. Music that produced a treasure trove of talented songwriters, lyricists, the likes of which the world had never known before, or sadly, I think, since. Today we look back on many of those songwriters that we've highlighted over the last 25 years, the programs we did, the audiences we had, the guest songwriters who attended, and once again today to relive again their greatness. And to paraphrase one of them, Jerome Kern, in speaking about us and you, he wrote, with my help, the following. We're old-fashioned, we love the moonlight, we love the old-fashioned things, the sound of absent rain upon the window pane, the storied songs that we all sing. This year's music is just passing music. But singing songs of years ago, these our hearts really know. So we're old-fashioned, but we don't mind it. That's how we want to be. So we can simply say that we stay old-fashioned and sing the music that we sing today. And now, from our very first program, it started it all 25 years ago, a real Gershwiner, "Swonderful." first couple of programs, I mean more than that, 25 years ago, and let him talk about the creation of how this all began.
Well, thank you, Howard. I can't tell you really how great it is to be back here. I came out from Boston for this because 25 years meant so much to me. We have some people from Boston. This is really our chance to celebrate what has become a fixture in the Southern California music scene. It may have, you know, a following like this that, you know, really loves the music, and it may not be in every city in Southern California, but we're here, and every month or every several months for 25 years we've been doing this, a quarter of a century ago. And this work was really started obviously by Judy. Howard and Roxana Lewis was singing with us at the beginning, Ruth Davis, Ruth Price, of course, who we've already met, and so many others, many of whom are here with us today. While I've been back east now for 21 years, seems hard to believe. My two sons are here, Dave and RJ, who were, I think, 4 and 5 when this all started. My favorite memories while I was back in Boston were just thinking of coming back to Sing, Sing, Sing in those early days, and especially co-hosting with Howard. We did those great Memorial Day programs and Oscar programs, as well as the work of songwriting teams. Most of them are teams who did all this work, and that rare breed of musician who wrote both words and melodies.
So we're going to talk about Cole Porter, who was a composer and a lyricist. He once remarked after listening to Rodgers and Hart and Rodgers and Hammerstein's songs, what he said to a friend, "It takes 2 people to write a song." Cole Porter brought a worldly sophistication and wit to the American musical and popular song that had not been there up until that time, and whose mantra was that there was too much money in the world, but not enough beauty, and I'm going to change that. Unlike his fellow composers from the early days, as they struggled on New York's Lower East Side, Cole Porter was born rich and only added to that as time went on. He attended Yale and Harvard, and yet he once wrote a lyric which went, "A college education I would never propose, a bachelor's degree won't keep you in clothes." And he lived in the fabled playgrounds of the super wealthy of Europe during the 1920s and 30s. Cole Porter, not only being able to write sensuous, sweeping melodies, was one of the wittiest of all lyricists, with a subtlety, hard word for me, of expression and mastery of clever rhymes. His work continues to stand as the epitome of sophistication, civilized detachment in a popular song form. So our next song, and to use a line from one of Mr. Porter's songs, "What moments divine, what rapture serene." It's so lovely.
This verse I started seems to me
perhaps no other songwriter had so much influence on the development and performance of American popular song in the 20th century as he did. With a lifespan of more than 100 years and a catalog that boasted over 4,000 songs, Irving Berlin epitomized Jerome Kern's famous maxim that Irving Berlin has no place in American music, he is American music. The songwriter Sammy Cahn once said of Mr. Berlin's prodigious output, "If a man in a lifetime of 50 years can point to 6 songs that are immediately identifiable, he has achieved something in the songwriting world." Irving Berlin has 60 that are immediately identifiable, maybe more. Someone once said that you can't have a holiday without his permission, because Berlin had written White Christmas and Easter Parade, among others. Irving Berlin captured the rhythms of a young, vibrant nation with songs that marked the country's wars, but also its prosperity, and helped to dance it through the Great Depression. We all here believe that Irving Berlin's music will last forever, not just for an hour, not just for a day, not just for a year, but always. We're now going to sing one of his songs that have 2 songs in one, Play a Simple Melody. And I think if I'm right, Judy, we'll all sing part 1 together and part 2 together. Then women will sing part 1 as the men sing part 2 against that, and then we'll switch, I think. We'll give it a try. Play a Simple Melody. Tuneful, tasteful, soulful, smart, music, Rogers, lyrics, heart, Irving Berlin. The basic facts. Rogers and Hart were an American songwriting partnership between composer Richard Rogers and lyricist Lorenz Hart. They worked together on 28 stage musicals and more than 500 songs from 1919 until Hart's death in 1943. Richard Rogers was a pioneer in crafting what became the quintessential American musical, integrating stories from books and plays and creating seamless storytelling from speech to song. He also innovated the business end of show business, allowing writers to keep control of their work. Rogers won every major award possible in his field, and it's safe to say that to any point in time, one of his musicals is being reproduced somewhere in the world, and that someone is humming one of his famous melodies. Larry Hart, F. Scott Fitzgerald, called him America's Poet Laureate. Stephen Sondheim said that he freed American lyrics from the stilted Middle European operetta technique. Fred Ebb said he made all lyricists a little braver, and he wrote some of the greatest love songs ever. Hart has long held a place in the pantheon of great American lyricists, with songs that display a wit and creativity perhaps only equal to my favorite Cole Porter. The many classic tunes he wrote with Rogers was My Funny Valentine, The Lady is a Tramp, Bewitched, and scores of others, which today are staples of jazz vocalists, piano bar performers, and any aging rocker who records an album of standards. The song is Bewitched. Hammerstein changed the face of American musical theater by integrating the elements of drama and music and dance as never before in the theater. Their 17-year partnership began in 1943 with the musical Oklahoma and continued through 10 other musicals or more, one motion picture, State Fair, one teleplay, Cinderella, and musicals like Carousel, South Pacific, The King and I, The Sound of Music, The Flower Drum Song, among others. In all, the duo won 35 Tonys, were nominated 15 times for an Oscar. They won 2 Grammys, 2 Pulitzers, and 2 Emmys. From the very first show, the one that changed Broadway musicals forever, Oklahoma, today we're going to sing 2 songs back to back. The first song is People Will Say We're in Love, and there are men and women's parts on your song sheet. And because we're always a bit thin on the men's side, I hereby deputize you ladies who wish to become men to help us sing the men's parts if you'd like. And then we will sing that, and then we will go right into Oklahoma itself. And David Bararo will start us off with the first couple of verses, and then we'll catch up. So now, People Will Say We're in Love, and then into Oklahoma.
Here is a gist of practical
legions of popular songs, including such standards as Smoke Is in Your Eyes, Who, They Didn't Believe Me, A Fine Romance, I Won't Dance, Long Ago and Far Away. How much time do we have? We can do a whole session, and we have. And Old Man River, from his 1927 musical Showboat, written with Oscar Hammerstein, that helps to set a new standard for the musical theater. As far as his Broadway career, in the course of his career, Jerome Kern's style showed a remarkable evolution towards greater and greater sophistication and a more and more American style. He was in many ways a link between the older European operetta tradition and the new Broadway musical style. Kern wanted to try something new. He thought a musical play should really be a work of art, not just a collection of songs and dances. He thought songs should help move the action of the play along by showing a person's feelings. Kern wanted to do a truly American musical with real American characters, real situations, and that became his biggest hit, Showboat. Kern once said that he was trying to bring modern art to music. One critic of the New York Times wrote about his music, Kern's songs are like black and white drawings. They need no color, no decoration. A Kern song is always in balance, perfect in form, pleasing in design. So enough said, let's sing All the Things You Are. Solo, it's going to be a Jerome Kern classic. And what more can be said about this song than Jerome Kern, Ruth Davis? Look for the silver lining.
preach to you a while. Tears are out of place in eyes that were meant to smile. I've a way to make your very biggest troubles small. Here's the happy secret of it all. Look for the silver lining whenever a cloud appears in the blue. Remember, somewhere the sun is shining, and so the right thing to do is make it shine for you. A heart full of joy and laughter will always banish sadness and strife. So always look for the silver lining and try to find the sunny side of life.
Ruth Davis.
In the verse to that song you heard her sing about the happy secret of it all, I just wanted to remind everybody that there's a happy secret to this all here to Sing, Sing, Sing. And that happy secret is Judy Woolman. One of the invisible and kind of inaudible things about this program is that some of you may have tried to sing this song with Audra McDonald or something on the radio and said, "Yeah, you can't hit that. No, I wonder what's going on." Judy magically transposes, because of her great gift, transposes each song to a key that all of us can sing. I mean, it's a little low, every now and a little higher, but it's the best that can possibly be done for a group of people. I was lucky enough to have this as a child growing up. We had music that we could sing in the house, so that's Judy. Johnny Mercer wrote lyrics with some of the greatest songbook composers ever, really, from Jerome Kern to Henry Mancini, most famously for Moon River and Days of Wine and Roses. That was Johnny Mercer. And also Duke Ellington, Michel Legrand, and several other geniuses that you'll be hearing about shortly as we sing their music. His 1939 collaboration with Jimmy Van Heusen produced our next song, I Thought About You. Said Mercer of the lyric that he wrote for this song, "Jimmy played me the melody. I didn't have any idea, but I had to go to Chicago that night, and I got to thinking about it on the train. I couldn't sleep, and that's when I wrote the song." What about Jimmy Van Heusen? Well, he was not born Jimmy Van Heusen. He was born Chester Edward Babcock. But when he got into show business as a staff announcer for a radio station, some there worried that that last name, Babcock, was semi-obscene. So this was the 20s in Syracuse, folks. And the Jimmy, well, of course, he took that from billboard advertising for a new line of shirts. Van Heusen. But don't laugh. Van Heusen became the most Oscar-nominated songwriter of all time, with 14, including wins for Swinging on a Star, All the Way, High Hopes, and Call Me Irresponsible. Frank Sinatra and Jack Jones would have been nothing. Anyway, back to tonight's song. What images, whether of a train ride to Chicago or anywhere else, a shadowy lane, 2 or 3 cars parked under the stars, and listen for the wonderful triple rhyme of crack, track, back, which by itself is evocative of a train ride. Think about it as we sing, I Thought About You. So Mercer again, but this time in a collaboration with Harold Arlen for the 1946 movie musical. I'm sure we all remember St. Louis Woman. Of course, we know Arlen first and foremost for 1939's The Wizard of Oz, written with lyricist E.Y. Yip Harburg. But Arlen, born Hyman Arlock in 1905, was a one-man songwriting industry for decades, all by himself, although he was never by himself. Here again, time permits us only to list Arlen's songs to give a feel for his contributions. Started with Get Happy with lyricist Ted Koehler, and then led to many songs for the Cotton Club in Harlem, Stormy Weather, I've Got the World on a String, One for the Road, That Old Black Magic, Let's Fall in Love, It's Only a Paper Moon, The Man That Got Away, that one with Ira Gershwin. And did I mention Over the Rainbow? Yeah. We'll sing one of Arlen and Mercer's 70-year-old classics. My gosh, that's as old as I am. Come rain or come shine. Another Arlen Mercer collaboration, also for St. Louis Woman, so, you know, we remember all those songs. Wizard of Oz, St. Louis Woman, big musicals. This one, Any Place I Hang My Hat Is Home. And today we have a treat. We're going to have it sung for us by Chuck Marceau from our group.
There is something about the Harold Arlen music that we all love, because it's blues, jazz, it's great. The first time we did the Harold Arlen program, I got home and my phone was ringing. Do you know this story, you guys? And I answered the phone and a voice said, "Hello, this is Sam Arlen calling you from New York." And I said, "Sam Arlen?" He said, "I just want to thank you for doing my dad's music." And I said, "I want to thank you for having a dad who did all that wonderful music." And he said, "Well, you're welcome." He said, "But you know, a lot of people don't know that Harold Arlen, they don't know the name. They think that Judy Garland wrote Over the Rainbow. And I said to him, well, we did our best to dispel that theory today. So we will continue doing your dad's music, and thanks for your dad. So I just thought I'd share that with you because it was such a thrill for me to hear from Sam Arlen, who's quite a musician in his own right. I think he's still alive and well in New York.
From the very first, when we started doing this, one of the things Judy always told us was, people never really own a song until they sing. You can listen to Sinatra in the bathtub all you want, but it's when you sing these songs that you really own these lyrics, and that's just kind of proof of it. Anyway. Partners in Rhyme is a favorite program title for Sing, 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 devised by my pun-loving sister. And it applies to the collaborations of many lyricists and composers we've already sung. But it certainly brilliantly fits Bloomington, Indiana-born Hoagie Carmichael and Lithuanian Mitchell Parrish. Howard Hoagland Carmichael began as a pianist with jazz greats Vic Beiderbecke and Louis Armstrong in the Roaring '20s. Then went on to work with lyricists on songs like Georgia on My Mind, Skylark, The Nearness of You, and the first song many of us have hammered out on our parents' pianos, although I doubt if we ever thought of it as Hoagie Carmichael, Heart and Soul, with words written with Frank Lessing, who we'll hear about in a moment. This collaboration is with Mitchell Parrish, originally Michael Peshalinski, whose lyrics we also know from Sweet Lorraine, Volare, and Sleigh Ride, among many other songs. Next, we sing the song that Hoagie's probably best known for, Stardust. Over 25 years, I remember the early years, and Judy, you'll remember this too, that there would be people coming in, either the wife would bring in the reluctant husband, or the husband would come in with the wife who's reluctant, and watching out there, people singing along, not singing along, like this. And by the time things got rolling, everybody was singing. A couple people probably, but they were giving it their best. And this group is singing. Okay, a little list here. Lullaby of Broadway. The More I See You. I Only Have Eyes for You. There will never be another you. I had the craziest dream. Chattanooga Choo-Choo, Atchison Peak, and the Santa Fe. You must have been a beautiful baby. I found $1 million baby. Jeepers Creepers. That's Amore. And at last, the song immortalized by Etta James. These huge hits and many more had tunes written by the composer that Sing 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 heralded long ago as Harry who? Thank you! I'll hang up the microphone. The amazing but virtually unknown to the general public songwriter, Harry Warren. We could have picked any of a score of his songs to celebrate today, but we chose his gorgeous, poignant Oscar winner from the 1943 movie Hello, Frisco, Hello. I think the poster's down there for those of you up front. We now sing the amazing You'll Never Know, both in Judy's Oscar winners Sing 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 program, which was always a big hit, and in the popular program built around Harry Warren's music, his whole collection. Lyrics are by one of Harry's favorite partners, Mac Gordon, who's also known for such songs as You Make Me Feel So Young. They got started writing musicals together right away with that year's now forgotten Life of the Party and two other unmemorable shows before hitting it big with Brigadoon in 1947, the show we did in our high school musical. Paint Your Wagon in 1951, My Fair Lady in 1956, and Camelot in 1960. Julie Andrews and Rex Harrison ran for 6 years in My Fair Lady, and they really got tired. That was longer than any previous musical, including that record setter, Oklahoma and South Pacific. A story of sharp contrasts, Professor Higgins and Eliza Doolittle especially, also reflected the contrasting characters of the composers. Lowe was a Berlin-born veteran of the operetta world, and lyricist Lerner, a New Yorker who followed Leonard Bernstein by 1 year through Harvard. When you think about it, they based all their musicals on things in the past. Though My Fair Lady was recent past in London with the great characters of George Bernard Shaw from Pygmalion. With all of the conflict of songs like Get Me to the Church on Time, I've grown accustomed to her face, Loverly, and the rest, this song is a classic love song. even if rooted in Freddie Eynsford Hill's illusions of love on the street where you live. The next song we're singing is from 1959, and it was Sondheim. Putting Sondheim on any sing-along program presents challenges galore. Much of his best music is just damn hard to sing. Sorry, we're in church. Especially since he began writing, I'm a you-use. Especially since he began writing words and music for his own shows, from Into the Woods to A Little Night Music, to Sunday in the Park with George, to Sweeney Todd, and my personal favorite, the obscure but wonderful Assassins. Sing, Sing, Sing has accepted the challenge to do Sondheim sing-alongs and has delivered beautifully, really, thanks to bold audiences like this one. Sondheim's early turn as a lyricist only for great shows like West Side Story with Leonard Bernstein and A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum did produce some classics that were ripe for sing-alongs, including this next one, from Gypsy. The story, by the way, is that Ethel Merman, from the 20s through the 60s, wouldn't let Sondheim write words and music for her show because he wasn't experienced enough. Hence his collaboration on this musical with the great Jewel Stein, also known for Funny Girl, which gave us People, and Bells Are Ringing, which gave us The Party's Over, among many, many others. From Gypsy, we sing, Everything's Coming Up Roses. I'm going to ask Judy, remember I told you about this, to tell a little story about a meeting she had with the great Stephen
I
Sondheim.
had a chance to speak to him at a reception one time, and I was so thrilled because I had a little story for him. And I told him that, well, I have a singing group called Lifted Voices, and we sing at one of the local places. It's a daycare center for Alzheimer's people and people who are having memory problems, among probably all of us. But anyway, we did a little song for them that's called Anyone Can Whistle. And here we were doing the song for this lovely group of people, and at the very end of it, some of them really came to life and they actually started whistling. And we thought it was so cute, so when I got a chance to say hello to Mr. Sondheim, I mentioned that we had done a little sing-along that I called Into the Words and Music of Stephen Sondheim. And he just shook his head and said, that must have really been hard. I said, yeah, it was, but we did it. I said, but I have to tell you the story about the Alzheimer's people who actually whistle after they heard your song. And he said, he loved it. He said, you can't imagine how much your words have moved me. He said, that's just a lovely story. Thank you for sharing that. I just thought, wow, my words moved him. Right.
New Yorker Frank Lesser had a tough time breaking into the world of Tin Pan Alley in the 1930s, and he moved to Hollywood. There, too, early efforts to write songs for movies were mixed. Although he had such hits, we still sing today, as Two Sleepy People and the aforementioned Heart and Soul, both of which he wrote with Hoagie Carmichael. I Hear Music with Burton Lane, and I Don't Want to Walk Without You with Jewel Stein. That's a mixed career. In the Army Air Corps in World War II, he kept writing for films, including the war-themed hits Praise the Lord and Pass the Ammunition, evocative to some of us, and They're Either Too Young or Too Old, a wartime song sung back home. His post-war career, though, successfully spanned movies and Broadway as he discovered his knack for being one of those rare musicians who write both words and music. On stage, there was 1948's Where's Charlie, which gave us Once in Love with Amy. And for the movie Neptune's Daughter, Baby, It's Cold Outside. Fun one to sing. One of our programs when we do lesson. And for the, let's see, that was the movie Neptune's Daughter. That won him an Oscar. He gave Broadway How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. It was Frank Lesser. 1962 Pulitzer Prize winner for Best Drama. And the delightful film score of Hans Christian Andersen, which is one of my personal favorites. I know Dave and RJ were subjected to that for a long time when they were growing up. Songs like Inchworm, Ugly Duckling, Wonderful Copenhagen, Anywhere I Wander, and No Two People, all from that one movie made famous by the great Danny Kaye. Thank you, Danny Kaye. Love it. But far and away, Lesser is best remembered for 1950's runaway Broadway hit, Guys and Dolls, based on Damon Runyon's story of New York gamblers and the Salvation Army. What a mix. From that great score, we sing the beautiful song that was a duet for Sister Sarah and Sky Masterson, I've Never Been in Love Before.
I've
the exception of the film State Fair, which in one of our programs I said State Farm, the two chose until the mid-1950s to abstain from allowing Hollywood to transform any of their Broadway smash hits into movies. Both had very bad experiences working early in Hollywood and did not want producers who, all fancying themselves better songwriters, standing over their shoulders putting their 2 cents in. With millions of theatergoers rushing to see the smash hit Oklahoma, in the early 1940s, it was only a matter of time before Hollywood would come a-calling. Darryl Zanuck, 20th Century Fox, approached Rodgers and Hammerstein with an offer to do an Oklahoma type of film, but this time it would be set in Iowa.
So Hammerstein decided he would write the screenplay and the lyrics, and Rodgers would pen the music. But they had one stipulation: neither of them would write it in Hollywood. So State Fair, or State Farm, was written in the deep canyons of New York, but filmed in California. The picture contained a half-dozen songs, among them It's a Grand Night for Singing, but It Might As Well Be Spring would earn Hammerstein his second Oscar. Get it? Hammerstein? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're all listening out here. And Richard Rodgers, his first and only one. Let's now sing It Might As Well Be Spring. Judy's Memorial Day programs have always been, and how I used to come back. Actually, those I would come back from Boston to help lead. I love them so much. I always poked at Americans, or many of them anyway, for preferring the television version of the Indianapolis 500 to our treasured tradition of singing wartime love songs that were, for most part, the core of our programs. Audience members told stories of their own wartime associations with the songs, and I particularly loved our singing the armed services songs, where members of each armed service would stand when we sang it. I remember challenging audiences once to listen to the tune of the Marine Hymn. Familiar, everybody? Marine Hymn? Yes, and just from hearing it with fresh ears, to identify the composer From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of... It's a can-can, and was actually written by Jacques Offenbach. I had some Marines who were not happy with me when I but that's the truth. Howard, can you tell us a little about the songs we're singing today?
I can. Harry Warren wrote a number of great Memorial Day big band hits. At Last, Chattanooga Choo-Choo, I Got a Gal in Kalamazoo, and Serenade in Blue. The big band leader, Glenn Miller, also came into his own during the war years with hits such as In the Mood, String of Pearls, and Moonlight Serenade. When Glenn Miller wrote Moonlight Serenade with words by Mitchell Parrish, it would become one of the most evocative theme songs of the big band era. The tune, though, was written only as a mathematical exercise in composition. He was studying musical arranging at the time and had nothing more in his mind than to complete the specific portion of the course he was taking. And of course, at that time, he didn't even have a band. Now, years later, he had a top-notch band and needed a theme song. So that's when he forgot about forgetting about this song. Of course, the rest is history. All of Miller's broadcasts began with this lovely melody, one that probably has raised more goosebumps for more people who remember the big band era. We're going to sing back-to-back Serenade in Blue and Moonlight Serenade.
Thank
December program is traditional and Tin Pan Alley songs. And we're going to sing two songs today, Silver Bells and Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. Almost all songwriters at one time or another have tried their hands at writing a Christmas song. But in order to have them published and sung during Christmas, they have to be written months in advance. So most Christmas songs are written in the heat of the summer. Have you ever wanted to ask a famous composer or lyricist what their favorite song is? Well, a few years ago, we at Sing, Sing, Sing had that chance. We were all invited to do a private show highlighting the music of three-time Academy Award winners, Jay Livingston and Ray Evans, and both of them were in attendance. Over lunch, Ruth, Judy, and I were sitting at the same table, and I asked both men of all their great hits, and they won 3 Oscar-winning songs, Buttons and Bows and Mona Lisa, Almost in Your Arms, Que Sera, Sera, Dear Heart, it goes on and on. What was their favorite? And they both said in unison, Silver Bells. And I and Judy and Ruth were taken aback. We looked at each other, but we just kept quiet. After lunch, I and Ruth Davis found ourselves standing next to Ray Evans, the lyricist, at valet parking waiting for our cars. A brand new, large baby blue Rolls Royce was brought up, and before Mr. Evans got in, he winked at us and said, Silver Bells.
I suspect we all know that Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas is from the classic, the other St. Louis movie, Meet Me in St. Louis, with Judy Garland. We can think of her singing that wonderful song, that poignant song. So I'm not going to say too much about that, but it does give us a chance to bring up the story and also memory of someone who contributed so much over the years to Sing, 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 and that is our dear departed Ron Kalina, who played harmonica for us and was Judy's partner, as many of you know, for a long time. He died in January 2016, and we miss him dearly. But the story is of the songwriter of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, who attended one of the Sing, Sing, Sings and heard us sing Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. And after the performance, in 2003, he wrote Judy a short letter. Dear incredibly thoughtful Judy, I absolutely adore the harmonica rendition of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. It moved me deeply, and I do hope that you'll tell Ron Kalina that I said that. Many people tell me that they get a little teary every time they hear my song, which is a wonderful compliment. I'm afraid that I've heard it so many times that the tears don't always come. But boy, they really did when I looked at the video that you sent me. I guess it was the video that you saw, wasn't it? I never would have realized how perfectly this song lends itself to the harmonica. But that lonely, lovely sound is just right for my lonely, lovely tune. I loved seeing the Jazz Bakery again also. Visiting you there that wonderful afternoon was one of the highlights of my life. So let's all remember Ron Kalina and the wonderful, wonderful Hugh Martin as we sing 2 Christmas songs, Silver Bells and Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Here is the Christmas
next two amazing songs, Irving Berlin's Always and the Gershwins' Love Is Here to Stay, is the special personal meaning they had for the songwriters. Howard, can you start telling us a little about that?
Will, have you ever wondered why a certain song was created? What was the impetus behind it? Here's the story behind Irving Berlin's classic, Always. Mr. Berlin was to marry one of the wealthiest women in the United States. And so for a wedding gift for his wife, he pondered, what can you give to someone who has everything? Well, how about what I do best, a song. Irving Berlin gave his wife on their wedding day, wrapped up in a piece of sheet music with flowers. As Ellen, his wife, unwrapped the sheet music, she saw the title, Always. Its first line read, I'll be loving you, always. It was more than just a sentiment. The song would have value had the romance or marriage died at that moment. Berlin had arranged to have the copyright and all royalties signed over to his wife, Ellen. Some 20 years later, she had made more than $1 million from the gift. Their romance never died. In reality, it was still in the family. And now about Gershwin.
Eileen, I hope you'll still be happy with a box of chocolates. George Gershwin died at the age of 38. And his last song, the heartstring-tugging Love Is Here to Stay, we think of it as Our Love Is Here to Stay, but the title is Love Is Here to Stay, was not finished. And so it was left to his grieving brother Ira to write a verse to that song. In many ways, it contains his most loving lyric, too, about the love he felt for his brother George. Let me just preview the verse, which sums it all up eloquently, poignantly, and really perfectly. The more I read the papers, the less I comprehend the world and all its capers, and how it all will end. Nothing seems to be lasting, but that isn't our affair. We've got something permanent. I mean, in the way we care.
ladies and gentlemen, Judy Wall.
You singing with us that way. You're all hired. Come back next time. All right, Roy and Howard, I love every word. Thank you so much. This is great. And Ruth, your solo as always was fabulous. Thank you. Chuck Marceau, thank you, thank you. And David, our unsung hero, Oklahoma, yay! Only he sings. And just all of you at Sing, Sing, Sing. It's been a great 25 years. And of course, next month, I expect everyone to show up for Gershwin at the end of the month on Sunday, right here. So please, Gershwin is just about our favorite program. It's where it all started. It was the first one we did. So come back and join us. I have to thank Chris Connor on bass. And Dick Weller on drums. Wow. Adding that keeps me in check. And just all of you, thank you so much for being here and celebrating our 25th anniversary. Eileen, thank you for all your behind-the-scenes help. No, really. And somewhere here, there is a daughter. I have a daughter somewhere here. Mara. Hi, Mara, stand up. Thank you for being here. She drove all the way up from Del Mar, you know, so I love it. And of course, a couple of nephews. Dave is the great one who takes the money. And RJ is also a wonderful support. Boys, two sons. So just thanks to everybody who put this together. And Ruth Davis, I have to say a word about her. She really helped inspire the particular selections that we did today. We had a little get-together. Did we have lunch? I don't even remember lunch. Oh, that's right, Spago. How could I forget? And we had lunch, and we talked about which songs to do, and she was just so helpful because, you know, there are thousands of songs in 25 years, a monthly program of different composers. It was like, where do we start? Well, that's a good one, too. Where do you start? Anyway, we didn't do that. But just thanks for being here, and thank you for seemingly enjoying all of this music the way we do. And anyway, we always leave you with our parting notes, so we'll do it again today. I think you inspired the words to this song, too. Thank you for that. Here we go.